Hey, what's good, fam? Kyle Henderson along with Trey Yanity. This is BamaInsider.com. We just listened to Nick Saban and also had Bryce Young come on along with Fedarian Mathis. So some nice interviews to start off week one. Thank you very much for joining us. Remember to hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. We're going to provide our take on Alabama's official depth chart. And we're going to kind of go through that and provide some observations. And then we're also going to talk about Nick Saban's press conference. We'll pipe that in just a second. We also heard from Manny Diaz, Trey Yanity. Listen to that press conference. And tonight, we're still going to have Monday Night Quarterback. That'll be with Mick Gillespie, Andrew Bone, and Tony Sucala. So a ton of coverage coming your way on BamaInsider.com. Definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. Call line is open, 205-850-0883. Really good to be back on. You know, it's great to talk Alabama football. And with this game against Miami, I know the money line is all on Alabama. But you know, we're going to dive into it. So Trey, welcome. I mean, you've been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Good to have you on camera today.
Thanks, man. It's good to be back. You know, it's been too long since I've been in the Bama Insider studio. We got a whole new wall here. We're looking good. We got the call lines open today. Please hit that up, guys, and hit the super thanks to like, subscribe, everything else. It is really good to be back, and it's exciting, Kyle, because this is truly the first week of Alabama football. We can talk about camp. We talked about the spring and the summer and everything else, and recruiting is great as well. But, it doesn't really feel like it's here until you get to this Monday and you start to get to the press conferences and all the lead up and everything else. So hearing from Saban today was great. Got some, good tidbits there. Hearing from Manny Diaz was awesome. Got some stuff to share there as well. And Bryce Young, little treat for us as the player being interviewed today as well. So a lot to talk about. This depth chart, Kyle, a little bit surprising in some areas. The defense didn't really surprise me too much, but I want your take, starting with the offense, on that tight end position.
Yeah, and before we get into that, definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. We want to hear from you. Where are you coming from? Where are you watching? And to our friends out in Louisiana, Mississippi, our thoughts and prayers definitely with you guys. I know there's a massive storm going through there, that hurricane. So you're on our mind. We're thinking about you. We're praying about you, and definitely keep us posted as we continue to move forward in week one. Trey, yeah. So at Alabama today, they released their week one depth chart, as you mentioned. So no surprise. Look, Bryce Young is quarterback number one. And this is from the University of Alabama. So Nick Saban does this one time, okay? So he gives us the depth chart one time, fam. That's it. Bryce Young, quarterback number one, followed by Paul Tyson and Jalen Milroe. Interesting nugget about Jalen Milroe. Changed his number to number two.
Really?
Trey, who was the last quarterback to wear number two at Alabama?
It might have been a Mr. Jalen Hurts.
That's right.
Believe.
Yeah. So you got Jalen Hurts, and now you got Jalen Milroe rocking the number two. I like it. I love those single digits for the quarterbacks.
And the name's Jalen too.
Yeah. And both from kind of the Houston area,
True.
right?
Yeah.
I know that Jalen played in the Katy area. So the running backs, Brian Robinson. Remember, he's played in 52 games. And we're talking about the Alabama depth chart. We're going to pipe in some of Nick Saban's press conference as well. Definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. Let us know where you're coming from inside the comment box as well. And the call-in line is open, and we'll get to our first caller in just a second. Just hang on. Let us get to this offensive depth chart real quick, and then we'll take your calls. All right, so we're going through this depth chart, right? You got B-Rob, already played in 52 games, Jace McClellan, or Trey Sanders. I mean, the running back arsenal is so dangerous.
It's deep. It's so deep, and no Kamar Wheaton on this list either. I was interested
but
in
he's
that.
There. I mean, doesn't mean he's like not on the team. So if you're out there and you're like freaking out, just relax. Like Kamar Wheaton's on.
I'm with you if you're out there.
Yeah. He's going to be fine. I mean, he's going to get opportunities. Just a freshman. Just relax. Okay, so the wide receiver Z position, you got Jamison Williams, right? The Ohio State transfer. Trey, you've seen him in the footage. Doesn't he look polished, ready to go?
This kid is fast. I mean, he's a cheetah, and I think they're going to use him so strategically this year, Kyle. He's not maybe going to get the amount of touches that some of these receivers are, but when he does, it's going to be those big plays, that deep ball. He's got so much speed. He's looked great so far. Good to see him, listed here at the top. Didn't know if we would see that today.
Let's take our first call, and then we'll finish out this depth chart because we want to talk about this tight end position, as Jaleel Billingsley was actually this number 3. But let's take our first call. Hey, what's going on? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson and Trey Yanity. Who are we on the line with, and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is David out of Pinson.
Okay, out of Pinson, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
And what was your first name?
David.
All right, David. Go ahead, man.
David?
You're on the line. My name's Kyle Henderson with Trey Yanity, man. Go ahead, shoot, man.
Okay. Yeah. So I've been watching a lot of analysts and different things, but hadn't really been hearing a lot of hype about Kool-Aid and Xavier McKenzie, coming out of Pinson. The actual one of the players that used to play for Alabama I guess under Gene Stallings, is actually the head football coach up here at Pinson High School. I hadn't been hearing a lot of hype about, I guess, the history of Miami and Alabama and the rivalry that dates all the way back, to 92. I just wanted to see if y'all were going to touch on that and maybe talk about, some of the things that, they did under Gene when they played Miami, in the national championship game when the actual head coach, Sam Shade, was there playing for Alabama during that year.
Yeah, well, first of all, Dave, thank you very much. And first of all, we'll talk about JaQuincy Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Pinson Valley. Obviously, last year, Pinson Valley won the state championship here in the great state of Alabama at Bryant-Denny Stadium. And then when you rewind, so if you look to the depth chart, that's what we were talking about. And by the way, thanks, Chill Will, great username. We appreciate the super chat so much. Thank you very, very much, man. We appreciate it. Thank you. So when you kind of scroll down on this depth chart, and we'll go through it. We were going to talk about the tight ends, but I want to talk about the back end. So you have Jalen Armour Davis and then Kool-Aid JaQuincy McKinstry as the second corner behind Jalen. So Kool-Aid's definitely going to get opportunities. Now getting to the second point, you were talking about Miami and Alabama and the history that they've had, right? I mean, these two teams, you look to what, the U used to be.
Oh,
right?
You look at that. I was actually watching highlights yesterday, Kyle. You look at that defense, some of the names, and, Dwayne LaRock Johnson was a part of that, but he was, one of the backups on that team. Just the depth that these Miami teams in the 90s had. And Alabama was a different looking team as well. Obviously, football in general, college football in general looked a lot different back then, but I think the game we're going to see on Saturday isn't going to look quite the same. But, to kind of link it back to the point on McKinstry, I think we are going to see a bit more defense this year, like we used to see when it was Gene Stallings versus the bad boys of Miami. And I think Kool-Aid McKinstry, is going to work in on a rotation here. Josh Jobe is going to be the starter, along with Jalen Armour Davis. But I think they do swap in the youngsters at times. Kool-Aid McKinstry is going to get his chance. Kyrie Jackson could even swap in there. And Kool-Aid, is a cornerback, but we're going to see him in a special teams role as well. I think we could see him return punts, return kickoffs at time. He was listed today. Let me scroll down here. He was listed as the third at least on the depth chart as the punt returner. So we could see him in multiple roles this season. They're going to work him in. He's one of the most talented youngsters on this team. So I would be really surprised if he doesn't get at least a fair amount of experience this year. Maybe not a starter by the end of it, and maybe not even to begin next season, but he's going to get his playing time, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Hey, the call line is 205-850-0883. We'll take some calls this afternoon. Thank you very much for everybody that tuned in, especially to Chill Will for that super chat. Hey, Dave, you got one more question, man. Go ahead and shoot. Dave, anything else? All right. That was Dave, our good friend out of he said I think he was from Southern Alabama.
I think Pinson Valley.
Right? Yeah, but the Pinson Valley area, I think he had ties to it. So we appreciate it. So let's welcome in the show one more time. My name is Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com, and he is Trey Yanity, both of BamaInsider.com. We pretty much manage all the video content on here. Tonight, you're going to get Mick Gillespie, Andrew Bone, and Tony Tsoukalas talking about Alabama football as well. We got a question on here. How is Trey Sanders looking? We'll jump back up and we'll talk about this depth chart because I wanted to point out something within the tight ends. And let's kind of go up there, Trey, and get to that tight ends. And then we'll work you through the offensive line because I kind of have some questions going into that first game against Miami with the offensive line. But Trey, as you see right here, and Scoop, we'll get to you in just a second. And by the way, Trey is looking fantastic. Trey Sanders, he's looking fantastic. Caught a touchdown during one of the preseason games. But I want to talk about this tight end position because it's been something we've talked about all preseason camp, and that's Jaleel Billingsley. Listed third. What's kind of your take right there, Trey?
This is weird, and you have to wonder why. Because this isn't, you look at this depth chart, and you got to think about it. Jaleel Billingsley is probably the most talented out of this group of three tight ends, and Cameron Latu, Major Tennyson, and Jaleel Billingsley. I think talent-wise and raw ability and ceiling-wise, Jaleel Billingsley is a step ahead of these two. Cameron Latu's made huge strides this offseason, obviously had a monster A-Day and a big spring, and I think is going to, get his playing time, but is a different kind of tight end, is a little bit more of a blocking tight end, along with Major Tennyson as well. But, Jaleel Billingsley kind of had some weird deals surrounding him this fall camp. There was a practice where, we didn't see him, and then the next practice he was back out there, and things were just a little bit off this fall camp. I'm not going to speculate on anything dealing with COVID or anything dealing with, team issues or anything like that. But you have to wonder a little bit because he looked like the assumed starter coming into this fall camp. And, you know, if I were to bet on it beforehand, I would tell you he starts every game, but obviously listed at third. We probably don't see that. What's your take there, though, Kyle? What do you think is going on there?
I still believe in Jahlil Billingsley. Look, I think that he has a tremendous amount of upside. I think, as I said on some of our videos, I think that this was a preseason learning experience. I don't know the full story behind why he could be in the dark. I have no idea. That's between Saban and Billingsley. That's between the team, right? But I think long-term, I think Billingsley is too talented to keep off the field. And I think Cameron Latou is going to be a fine tight end. I mean, you've seen him and Bryce develop some sort of a cohesion during the spring game, during preseason training camp. But I think, you know, the most talented player in that tight end room is Billingsley, in my opinion. So I think if Billingsley can get it together, can be dialed in, can work with the coaches, can understand where he needs to be on this team, step up for this team, I think he's going to be a fine addition for the Alabama Crimson Tide. We want to hear from you inside the comment box. When you're talking about Jahlil Billingsley, do you have what are your expectations for him going into this season? Are you like me? Do you feel that his ceiling is high and that he's going to be an impactful player? Or do you feel that this team is now turning to Cameron Latou? Maybe it doesn't matter because, you know, Nick Saban will have it all figured out. But definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. We appreciate you more than you know. Talking about the Alabama depth chart, we're also going to pipe in Nick Saban's press conference. Trey, as you look to Alabama's depth chart right here, and this is provided one time from Nick Saban. This is your Christmas, okay? That's why we're diving into the depth chart. Okay, so at left tackle, Evan Neal, 6'7", 360 pounds. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a top, you know, top 1, 2, 3 in the 2022 draft.
Easily. I mean, look at that athleticism too. It's insane.
Yeah, everybody remembers the box jump, right? Okay, and then at guard, you have Javon Cohen. And think about him. I mean, this is a good story. He's a sophomore now, second-year player to earn that starting spot. I think that says a lot about him. Center. Now, keep note of this. It says Chris Owens or Darian Dalcourt. I think they're playing with, you know, trying to figure out who the best rotation is. And then at guard, you have Emil Ekiyor, a lot of experience. Don't sleep on Emil. Emil Ekiyor has a ton of experience coming back. And then you have Jaden Roberts and Terrence Ferguson. That's interesting because, you know, both those guys are younger. Behind him at the right guard position. Then you have Kendall Randolph, who's a little bit banged up this spring. And then you got J.C. Latham, a freshman, and then Damian George. Both those guys are monsters. Trey, what's your take on the offensive line?
I love this offensive line because it's a good mix of youth and, you know, veteran experience. And I think we're going to see the J.C. Lathams and the Damian Georges of the world get their chance this season, but you can lean on guys like Emil Ekiyor and you can lean on guys like Evan Neal, which I love. And, you know, the center position is honestly the biggest question mark. You're losing a huge piece in Landon Dickerson that, you know, I saw is just getting activated today into the NFL. So that's pretty cool there. But Chris Owens is going to have to fill those shoes. And Darian Dalcourt's going to get his chance as well. I think you're going to see Owens more than Dalcourt. Owens had a nice fall camp from what we saw. So, you know, that one's got to be sorted out a little bit. But I think if they can lock down that center spot, maybe, you know, get a little bit more faith in the left guard there, really see what Javon Cohen has to offer. If he can come out and look good and they don't have to rely on Tommy Brown too much, I think this offensive line has a lot of potential. Now, this offense is different, though, Kyle. Last season, it was more important for the line to be good. Mm-hmm. You look at this team, they're not going to hand the football off as much. They're not going to be, the quarterback's not going to be standing in the pocket and throwing it deep as often. He's going to be scrambling and rolling out and, you know, maybe won't need as good of an offensive line or as steady of an offensive line at least. But, you know, I think one thing, and this is something I've been really excited to talk about because I think this is, you know, maybe a nugget. I don't know if I'm qualified to get into the nugget business yet, but this might be a nugget of yours for this upcoming season. I think we see this offense throw the football to the running backs a lot this year. You look at Holloman Wiggins, you look at, you know, the offensive coordinator now and Bill O'Brien and Doug Marrone and the rest of this staff. They love getting the football in the air, checking it down to the running back, and just getting them activated without having to hand them the football. We're going to see a lot of tight end play as well. This depth chart has changed my mind a little bit. I thought we would see Jahlil Billingsley primarily, but now it looks like Cameron Latou is going to get the load. So I think they throw the football a lot more, you know, maybe in short distance situations this season than we saw last year, but the line doesn't matter as much. They're steady, and I think they're going to do a good job. Who's your maybe sleeper on this offensive line? I think we talk about Evan Neal a lot, but what's one guy that you're maybe looking at that everybody's not talking about?
I'll answer that in just a second. We got a caller in, and we'll take that call right now. Hey, what's good, fam? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson and Trey Yanity. Who are we on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, it's Demetrius from North Carolina there, Cal.
What's up, Demetrius? How you been, man? Long time that we've talked, man. I hope you're well, and you sound great, man. So Demetrius on the line from North Carolina. Trey, why don't we get a banner up on the bottom from? Go ahead, Demetrius.
What's up, Demetrius?
Well, I'm just trying to. It's time for the boys to put on the gloves. You know, once again, to dot all the naysayers. And I'm going to just say this. Must we keep continues to go through this through every season? Have we not learned yet to trust what product Nick Saban going to put on the field? He's always going to put the best talent out there. So, hey, it is what it is. And as far as, I mean, I'm kind of, it's some players that I wish could have that put it, but I'm excited to see what's going on here on the field.
All right, Demetrius, you're kind of breaking out, so we'll let you go, but I'll answer on the other line. But okay. I think you bring up some good points. Please call again next time. And Demetrius calling in from North Carolina, one of our frequent callers, and we also have another guest coming in just a second. We'll get to you. Kyle Henderson at BamaInsider.com. Is Trey Yanity. We're talking about the Alabama depth chart. We got another call coming in. We'll just take it in a second. And I think Demetrius, I think from listening to what he was saying, he was kind of breaking up. Have you not learned to trust Nick Saban on the field? I think that's a great point, because you look at what Coach Saban has done. I mean, since he arrived at Alabama, I mean, it's the proof is in the pudding, right? I mean, every single thing he does from a coaching standpoint works. I think there's some sort of stat, and I'll have to check with Tony Tsoukalis on that, but every year that Nick Saban has had a first-year starting quarterback, I think they've made it to the national championship game. Now, I don't think they've won all those games, but we'll have to check with him, but it was some crazy stat like that. So,
I mean, look at recent history, too. Jalen Hurts, Mac Jones, his first-year starter.
Right? So,
all these guys.
All those guys are like first-year starting quarterbacks. So, I think there was some crazy stat like that. But I think this year, and I want to get your take inside the comment box about this Alabama defense. And we're going to start to talk about the defense. I know, Trey, you asked me a question before we got our call. But I want to talk about this defense and kind of the expectations and what you guys think about the defense. I'll get to the call in just a minute. But let's kind of switch to the defense, and then we'll pipe in some Nick Saban. And then remember, tonight you got Monday Night Quarterback with Mick Gillespie, Andrew Bone, and you got Tony Tsoukalis. So definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. We appreciate you, fam, more than you know. Let's take our next call, and then I'll give you my sleeper on offensive line, and then we'll talk defense. Hey, what's good, fam? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson and Trey Yanity. Who are we on the line with, and where are you calling in from? Who we got on the line?
Jeff Stapleton.
Jeff, what's
Alabama.
up, man? Good to hear from you. Hey, you know what? Turn your audio in the background down, because we can't hear you.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
You're good. You're good.
All right. Hey, it's a new year. Everybody's talking about the team. Everybody's talking about Alabama. But what they're not talking about is who we got back, who didn't leave. They're not talking about that. They're not saying that. Jaleel Billingsley's having some problems right now. I understand that, but he can get better. He can pick up and move on from there. He's just a little starstruck right now. That's all. The defense. Oh man, the defense is killer this year. Come on, man. You seen what it did last year? I mean, the last half of the season, they improved immensely, and we only lost 2 players on defense this year.
Yep.
So it's going to be a really good year for Alabama football. And like I said, they were talking about Bryce Young. He's not tested yet, but he will be tested. He will be tested against Miami. He'll be tested against Mercer. He'll be tested against Florida. He'll be tested against Texas A&M. He'll be tested against all those teams. So,
Jeff, let me ask you a question, because you're at a perfect segue point. I was talking about the Alabama defense, and if you're new to our show, definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. We appreciate you, Jeff. You've been a long time caller. Good to be back in the fold, man. I missed your voice because you always bring the energy, you always bring the heat. When we're talking about this defense, I'll kind of zoom into the inside linebackers. You got Henry Toto starting. I listed as a starter with Christian Harris, and Coach Saban talked about the defensive speed and that being important, especially when you play a quarterback that can give you challenges outside the box, like De'Aaron King, my apologies. So what do you think about Henry Toto and Christian Harris and kind of the speed that those guys present, along with defensive edge rushers like William Anderson and Christopher Allen?
Well, Henry Toto was very good for Tennessee. we all know Tennessee's strength as it is. I mean, I'm not saying nothing nobody else don't know. But we all know that Henry Toto is a really good player, and he's already made depth in the backfield for Alabama when he came to the school itself.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a really good pickup for Alabama's defense. And Christian Harrison, oh man, he's just getting better and better as it goes along. Jordan Battle, Chris Battle. You got all those players right there. Those young, hungry players that are ready to go, and they want to prove that they can hold this defense. And one more, I want to say this. Remember when Clemson had their number one defense in 2016? Remember how long it took them to get it to where it was?
Mm-hmm.
It's been that long for Alabama.
Yeah.
It's been that long for Nick Saban.
No.
2017 to 2021, that's 5 years. That's how long it takes to make a defense and stand up against somebody. So Miami's got trouble coming to them. That's all I got to say.
Hey, Jeff.
Miami's got Derek King. Better look out. That's all I got to say.
Hey, Jeff, keep calling in, man. We appreciate you. I always see you inside the comment box, man. We appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a fantastic week one. And this isn't going to be the last time we talk, because I know you might call in tonight to Monday Night Quarterback.
No.
You're going to call in on Wednesday. Yeah, you're calling in all the time, man. So we appreciate you, Jeff, and we'll catch up with you soon, buddy.
I love the energy there,
Let's
Kyle.
go. Roll Tide.
Yeah, roll Tide too, man.
Let's go, baby.
Roll Tide, Jeff. I need this guy to come to the weight room with me. This is what we need here on a Monday morning. And to kind of add on to that, I want to talk about Henry Toto and what Jeff was saying. And he's going to add a lot as far as gameplay goes and what he's going to add to this rotation. But he's adding so much in practice with just the mental maturity. What we've heard from when Pete Golding talked and other defenders, other inside linebackers, they're talking about how much Henry knows and how good of a teammate he is to teach his teammates and, pass along this information or be supportive here. I think he's going to bring a lot on the field, but off the field too. This is a great inside linebacker room, linebackers as a whole, defense as a whole. Jeff has got it all. He's saying it right. And this defense, I think, will lead the team in 2021.
Hey, thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Kyle Henderson along with Trey Yanity. Today, we're talking about the Alabama official depth chart. And the reason we're doing this is because Nick Saban allows the depth chart to come out one time. We can speculate. You can see all the videos. And I think for the most part, we're pretty much dialed in because, we follow the team, obviously. And the videos that we produce, it'll line up with the depth chart. But to see it officially from the University of Alabama, you're only getting that once per season. Now, my sleeper offensive lineman, I know we're segueing to the defense, but I think I would go for maybe like a Terrence Ferguson or maybe a Jace Latham. I think these two younger guys have the overall athleticism to contribute this year, both at the guard position and at the tackle position. So it would be pretty amazing to see Evan Neal at one side from the IMG Academy, also with Jace Latham from the IMG Academy. Alabama having that nice pipeline to the best high school football program in the country. Switching to the defensive side, look, Trey, this defensive line, there's so many names, and it doesn't matter who starts. It really doesn't, because the biggest thing right here is to have quality depth within the trenches. So I don't even look at the starters. I look at the overall depth. So Justin Ebogbe, Phil Mathis, Jamil Burrows, DJ Dell, Tim Smith, Stephon Wynn, Phil Mathis, Byron Young, LeBron Ray, Jamarian Latham. I guess my biggest question when I look at the defensive line is, what is the status going to be of LeBron Ray this year? Because I think we've all been waiting for LeBron Ray to have this season to come out and to be instrumental, and he's been hampered by injuries. I think, he has some sort of minor injury this year, but we don't know the full status update. What's your take on this defensive line? I know you're probably going to talk about Tim Smith, but I think replacing, just like Jeff said, you lose two starters from last year's defense. Someone's got to replace Christian Barmore. Someone's got to replace Patrick Surtain. Maybe those guys are irreplaceable because they were, drafted in the NFL. But what's your take on this defensive line?
On the line itself, I think that, like you're saying, you lose some maybe talent, but you don't lose any kind of depth. And that's super important for this team, because you look at the defense and, in some years it will be the line leading it. And, that's just not the case on this team. You look at the linebackers and even the defensive backs on this group to be the leaders, and even your edge rush, guys like Will Anderson that, can really provide some pressure. All you have to do is just do enough. And the thing about having this much depth is you're not going to get tired. And Alabama, I don't think is going to be on the field as much this season as they were last year, their defense at least, because I just don't think they're going to score quite as fast as they did last year. But I think that having this much depth allows you to give guys like Jamarian Latham their chance and Byron Young to get rotated in. Because I think Phil Mathis and DJ Dale, and like you're saying, Tim Smith, these guys are going to be your leaders. But depth is key for this group. And I think that's going to make the difference this season. It really is going to fall on the shoulders, that inside linebacker group. Well, Will Anderson can do at edge rush, and the defensive backs as well. Really, how healthy is Malachi Moore is probably my biggest question on defense.
Here with Trey Yanity. My name is Kyle Henderson. The call-in line is at the bottom of the screen, 205-850-0883. Stick around for Monday Night Quarterback with Mick Gillespie, Andrew Bone, and Tony Tsoukalas. That show will be live tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time. It's good to be back. It's good to be talking Alabama Crimson Tide football with you. Definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. As I always say, we appreciate you more than you know. As you look to Alabama's linebackers, it's a stacked unit, as you would expect. Christopher Allen, I think towards the back end of last season, you really started to see him find his game. You have William the Terminator Anderson on the outside. I think I was watching the Herbie Awards of the night with Kirk Herbstreit, and he gave the most impactful defensive player to Derek Stingley. I disagree with that. Look, I'm not being an Alabama homer or whatever. I just think that William Anderson is going to be the best defensive player in college football. Sign off with me if you agree inside the comment box, because I think what William Anderson brings to this defense, if he can get pass rush, from one side or cause double teams or whatever, that's going to free up Chris Allen on the outside or through the middle with, Christian Harris, whatever. I think they're going to be able to dial up some fantastic blitz packages just because William Anderson is going to be a problem. When you look to the secondary, you lose Patrick Surtain, but you got Josh Jobe, Jalen Armour Davis, you got Kool-Aid McKinstry, or Kyrie Jackson. Kyrie Jackson's the junior college transfer. You got DeMarco Hellams. We're going to pipe in some Nick Saban in just a moment. He said that DeMarco Hellams is still questionable for this game against Miami. You got Jordan Battle. Hard to believe that he's a junior already. And then you got Daniel Wright. And at the star position, you got Malachi Moore or Brian Branch. What's your take on that interior linebacker, outside linebacker, and secondary play, Trey?
First thing that really caught my eye with outside linebacker, at least no King Wakuda listed on this depth chart. And he's, he's looked really good in fall camp. He really caught my eye. I was surprised that he didn't make this list, but I do think we see him at times this year. Rest of the outside linebacker room is about where we saw it. I love seeing Dallas Turner listed kind of, with splitting as that second string role of Chris Braswell there. I think we see him early this season. I'm excited to see Dallas Turner. He's going to bring a lot, kind of fall in the footsteps there. And could be a real mentor to Jeremiah Alexander next year as well. But, you look to the defensive backs and really you look at the safeties. I think the biggest note is Brian Branch's ability to be versatile and do it all. Having him as a backup for Malachi Moore is key because Malachi Moore, like I said, we don't know where the health is right now. He missed this spring. He didn't play in A-Day. Barely saw him in the fall as well. So we don't know exactly where he's at this point. We won't speculate on his health, but it's good to know that Brian Branch is there as a backup. And for DeMarco Hellams as well. Like you said, we don't know what DeMarco Hellams is looking at for week number 1. So hopefully he's able to play. Hopefully Malachi's able to play. But it makes me feel really comfortable knowing that Brian Branch is there as a backup. And, you look at free safety as well. Christian Story, another sophomore that we talked about all summer long and a guy that, I'm super interested to see what he can bring this year. But I think it's all going to depend on the health of Malachi Moore and an outside linebacker, what you can get out of these youngsters and, maybe even guys like King Wakuda.
Here with Trey Yanity of BamaInsider.com. My name is Kyle Henderson. Stick around tonight for Monday Night Quarterback with Mick Gillespie and Tony Tsoukalas. Andrew Bone will be talking recruiting, and Tony Tsoukalas will be talking more team coverage as Alabama gears up for their Week 1 matchup against the Miami Hurricanes. Alabama, 19-point favorite. I know the money line, of course, is going to be on Alabama. Still a large point spread to open up the game. As we kind of round out this official depth chart provided by the University of Alabama, let's take a quick look at special teams. Will Riker coming back. I know he had some issues during springtime, but last year he was fantastic. I mean, he was perfect on the year. And then the holder is going to be Paul Tyson, the backup quarterback. The puncher is going to be James Burnip. He's from Australia. And, today our own Tony Tsoukalas asked Bryce Young, if, he's talked with Burnip about coming from California to Alabama, from James Burnip coming from Australia. And you can watch that clip on BamaInsider.com. It's pretty funny. The snapper is going to be Neelan Hibbett. Taking over for Thomas Fletcher. Thomas Fletcher, I think, started in like 52 games or something like that consecutively for Alabama. I
think he got drafted.
Yeah, he did by the Panthers.
By the Panthers,
yeah, that was cool. Like they called him up and he was like, "What's up?" And they drafted him. That was awesome.
That's
video.
Awesome.
You got JoJo Earl at punt returner. or Slade Bolden. No one's going to want to deal with JoJo Earl, right? And then you got Jamison Williams and Jace McClellan at, kick returner, or Trey Sanders or Slade Bolden. So there's your special teams. Let's go ahead. Oh, we got another super chat. Hey, Will, chill, Will, man. Thank you so much, man. 2 super chats back to back, man. And the crowd goes crazy. So thank you, chill, Will. We appreciate you, man. Let's get into some Nick Saban from earlier today. And of course, you can watch Nick Saban in its entirety back on BamaInsider.com, along with Bryce Young. We might pipe in some Bryce Young, Trey, right?
Yeah, why not? Let's do it. Always a good interview.
Yeah, so I have all the timestamps marked out for Nick Saban, but we'll add him, and then we'll kind of just go through some points. I have it written down here. Maybe we'll start on JoJo Earl, the freshman, which I think is at 350 marks. So let me get to it.
About Miami, I think this is a
at 350. You just bear with me while I get to the timestamps. But here's Coach Saban talking about JoJo Earl.
Okay, with that, we'll get things started with Michael Casagrande. Go ahead, Michael.
Looking at the receivers, JoJo Earl's up there in the depth chart. What's he showing you in August this month?
JoJo's had a really good camp, very quick, very fast, really good in and out of a break, really good route runner, very consistent catcher. So done a really good job, and obviously, have some opportunity to play in the game.
Okay, we'll go to Aaron.
All right, let's talk about that just for a second. JoJo Earl is, he's a freshman at the University of Alabama. I think when you look to players that are going to create value for themselves, that clearly tells us if he's being utilized on special teams, that he's going to be too dynamic to keep off the field. What's your take on JoJo Earl and some of these younger Alabama freshmen? Ajay Hall, Christian Leary, Ja'Cory Brooks, and JoJo Earl.
Yeah, Kyle, I got to give you credit here because I think you were on the JoJo Earl train first out of this young group of receivers. I've always kind of leaned in the Ja'Cory Brooks direction, if I was going to pick one out of the group. But I think they're all super talented. I think JoJo Earl probably just had the best fall camp and, probably looked the sharpest at least. I think that's one thing they really look for as we lead up to the season. Who's the sharpest? Because you can correct those mistakes throughout the season, but who's ready to go right away? JoJo Earl is probably that guy. I love that he's going to be working in on special teams. I love seeing young players get in those moments because it's, intense, but it doesn't take too much. And you're not on the field for too long there. So it's going to be really fun to see him return punts. Hopefully we see him work into the rotation of receivers this year. But, I think it would be fair to give Ajay Hall his chances, to give Ja'Cory Brooks his chances, Christian Leary, all of these kids their chances, because I think they're all pretty close in talent level. And JoJo Earl got the nod. I wonder what it came down to, really, because they're all pretty much the same. But good for JoJo Earl getting the start here. I love this receiving core in general. A lot of people wanted to talk about this offseason. Well, I'm worried about our line, and I'm worried about our receiving core. They're losing Jalen Waddle. They're losing Devontae Smith, all these guys. Okay, yes, but you're bringing back John Mechie, and you have guys like JoJo Earl that are coming into the program that bring a lot of depth to this group. Exciting. What was your thought on it?
Well, like I said, I've always been a fan of JoJo Earl. I think he's very, dynamic in the fact that he has that ability to change direction, make you miss. So not surprised to see him on special teams. Actually, Saban talked about another very talented younger player, and this is Jace McClellan. So let's just go right there to Jace McClellan, and this is Saban talking about Jace McClellan. I think it's actually just the next clip.
What have you seen from Jace Mcclellan and his growth from last year and how that helped in that experience playing last year till this offseason in this camp?
Jace has done a really, really good job. I think he's really confident. I think he really understands the offense when he has the ball, when he doesn't have the ball, which I always think is really important in the development of a running back. Most of these guys that we recruit, they're pretty good when they got the ball, but it's learning how to play when they don't have the ball. And I think that's probably where he's made the most progress. And we have a lot of confidence in him. He's a really good special teams player as well.
All right, that's Coach Saban talking about a very talented running back by the name of Jace McClellan. As you know, if you've watched our coverage, you got Trey Sanders coming back fully healthy, and I think that's one of the key storylines. Then you also have Jace McClellan and Roydell Williams back there as the younger guys, and I think those two could be very dynamic. Two are probably the top sophomore running backs in the entire country, and then don't forget about five-star Kamar Wheaton. So there was Coach Saban providing an update on Jace McClellan. Let's go to the next clip where Coach Saban, I think it's actually the next one, where he's talking about the offensive line.
Go to Nick Kelly with Tuscaloosa.
Where's the overall cohesion and just health of the offensive line at right now?
I think we'll obviously see, when the game comes, but we've had some injuries in the offensive line, so we haven't always had the same group together, which, the good thing about that is as you get more experience for other guys who may have to play. The bad news is those guys didn't get to play together quite as much, but I'm confident in the group. There's a lot of competition up there, which I think is a good thing. And we'll see. They're going to play against a good front, an active front, very aggressive front in this game. So it'll tell us where we're at.
Trey, let's get your thoughts on the Alabama offensive line. I know there's been a lot of rotation, but you still have anchors like Evan Neal, potentially Chris Owens at the center position, but Emil Ikior is a guy who has another, a wealth of knowledge at the offensive line. Your take on this Alabama offensive line after losing, a critical piece last year in Landon Dickerson?
Oh, I mean, it's huge. And that was going to be the main focus this year, that center position. What do you do to address that? But they have two guys splitting that up, or that's what it seems at least. So I think that Nick Saban's very confident in that. I think this Alabama team needs to be super confident in that. He's been pretty vague about this group throughout the offseason. He hasn't specified as much who he's leaning on. But I think, you look at guys like even James Brockermeyer, Tommy Brockermeyer, that could get their chance this season. This is another group that's going to rotate a lot. I think this is, maybe your biggest worry as a whole, not even just on offense. Your offensive line did lose Landon Dickerson. That means a lot because you look at the receiving core. They lost Jalen Waddle. They lost Devontae Smith, but it doesn't mean as much because there's so much talent coming in and you return some really talented guys too. And I'm not saying that this offensive line isn't as well and Chris Owens isn't talented. I think he's very talented, but Landon Dickerson was elite and it's going to be a different look this season. But like I said, I think you feel a little bit of comfort when you think about the way this offense is going to work. And I think it's also makes you feel pretty comfortable when Doug Marrone, has been teaching this group throughout the offseason and he's still not even a year removed from the NFL. So it's young. It's a little bit more thrown together than it was last season, but it's really well coached. And I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity here. So we'll see how it goes. But I think this is definitely one that you stick a needle in if you're talking about areas of need.
Let's go forward, and this is Nick Saban's press conference. It's just providing a little bit of reaction and kind of some insight from Nick Saban's first press conference of the official season as Alabama gears up to take on Miami. We've heard Coach Saban talk a lot about Bryce Young, so we'll kind of bypass that clip. You can watch Nick Saban's full press conference on our YouTube channel, so definitely hit the thumbs up, subscribe. He speaks on Monday, and he speaks on Wednesday. On Mondays, he speaks at 12 p.m., and on Wednesdays, usually at 6 p.m. We carry those press conferences right here at BamaInsider.com. And then, following the game, of course, we'll have Nick Saban's press conference. You can also watch Bryce Young today as well. I think it was interesting to hear Coach Saban talk about Alabama's offense from last year to this year, because I think last year it was such a plug-and-play type offense. There were so many veterans, right? Mac Jones, Najee Harris, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, the entire offensive line. But here's Coach Saban's thoughts about this offense. And look, I mean, they haven't even played a game, so it's kind of hypothetical, but we'll play it anyways. And here's Coach Saban talking about this Alabama offense. And I think that's at 7:45.
Coach, you were performing at such a high level offensively at the end of last season. Do you anticipate that people will expect that you can just pick that up and go, or do you think there's a little more realism about starting over offensively?
I really can't answer that because I don't know what people think out there. You probably have a better feel for that than I do. But I think the realistic approach is we had a lot of new players on offense. It's a work in progress to get all these players to develop to be productive and consistent performers. We're working hard on that. The coaches are doing a good job of that. We've got new faces at a lot of positions, which creates a lot of opportunity for people. How they manage it in the game, how they can take it to the game, how they prepare for the game. Those are all question marks that get answered when you play a game. We're working hard on it. Wherever we are, we're going to continue to work on it and develop it. I have confidence in the players that we have. We just have, players that don't have as much experience as we had a year ago. So we're going to see how that manifests itself into positive performance on a consistent basis, and how can they manage playing one play at a time, and how can they stay focused on executing and doing their job. And I think that'll go a long way to say, how productive we are, as an offensive team.
We'll go to John Zener with.
All right. Let's kind of dive into that, because I think this is really important. We got a couple more clips that we're going to play before we close it out. But Trey, what I'm taking away from that comment right there is just what we talked about earlier. You lose playmakers, you lose the Heisman Trophy winner, you lose the Davey O'Brien winner, you lose the Doak Walker Award winner. That's major firepower, right? Not to mention that Alabama's offensive line was just ferocious last year. So look, the talent is there. Absolutely. But you don't have Steve Sarkisian back. You have Bill O'Brien. So many different components left, but the components are still there. It's just they need to get reps. They need to get rhythm against an official, a different team. I'm sure these guys are tired of, playing each other during preseason training camp. Your take on this offense and how you think it's going to evolve. I know it's a hypothetical question, but, a new quarterback takes over. That's probably the biggest storyline. Your take on this overall offense.
Yeah, dangerous there of Cecil to ask Nick a hypothetical question.
Yeah.
You typically don't see that, but I think it was a good one if he was going to ask one. And it really is a good question. What does this look like? I think, regardless of point totals and everything else, it's going to look a lot different. It's tailor-made to Bryce Young. Last year's offense was tailor-made to Mac Jones and Devontae Smith and Najee Harris and these other guys. This offense is a little bit more zoned in on one player, which it is not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. We're going to see how it goes. Like Coach said, we really don't know. And, I think most seasons you have at least a little bit of context or, at least a little bit of return. But your offensive coordinator is a new coach. Your offensive line coach is brand new. And they're two big personalities coming in. And I think they've worked really well together. And I think that Bill O'Brien has kind of been a personal coach for Bryce Young, if nothing else, which is going to help them all get acclimated to this offense a lot, but it's just going to be different. And we'll see what those point totals look like. But at the end of the day, like, one of our callers was talking about earlier, this defense is going to look a lot different too. And I think they're not going to allow as many points. So your offense may not have to score as much. It's going to be a much different team. It's going to be a really fun team. But trust in the man. Coach Saban knows what he's doing. He has got 22 guys that he is really confident in. And I think you need to be too, because this offense may look different, but it's going to be just as deadly.
Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com, along with Trey Yanity. Stick around tonight for Monday Night Quarterback, because you'll have Tony Tsoukalas and Andrew Bone, along with Mick Gillespie, our three-team personnel taking on Monday Night Quarterback. So definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. You can watch Nick Saban's press conference in its entirety on our YouTube channel. Same with Bryce Young, who we got to hear from today. QQ just asked about the depth chart. You can find the full depth chart if you could just go to Bama Insider. We have it for free on our front page. I'll also provide a link to that story in the description box. So QQ, I know you might have showed up late, but we had the depth chart earlier in this video. But if you want to just scroll through it all, just go to Bama Insider and you can check it out for free back at Bama Insider. Before we get going, I want to provide this last soundbite from Coach Saban talking about Alabama's run defense, because it's and kind of just the speed of the defense. We've seen the clips of Henry Toto and Christian Harris, and just the speed that these guys have across the middle, especially when going up against a quarterback like D'Eriq King, who can provide somewhat of a challenge on the outside edge, just because he is a dual threat quarterback. So that is at 12 minutes. And here's Coach Saban talking about the challenges of facing a dual threat quarterback, along with Alabama's speed on defense.
Situation on the offensive line, you having to shuffle guys in and out, but you get a sense of where your run defense is at this point in time?
I think we got more veteran players.
Actually, my bad, fellas. It was on. It was at 10:30. Sorry about that. My apologies. Here you go.
Harrison, you have time for two more.
Coach, taking on a player of the athlete caliber that D'Eriq King is as a scrambler, what's it mean to your defense to have some speed at the middle linebacker position with Henry Toto and Christian Harris?
Well, I think team speed on defense in this day and age in football is very, very important, with all the people who run spread, who really are going to, make you cover horizontally as well as vertically the entire field. And when you have great athletes that have great speed, especially at the quarterback position, that adds another element to that. that you're out here spread out trying to cover all these guys. And now you've got a quarterback who's got great ability to scramble, extend plays, make plays, scrambling, throwing, as well as running. That adds another element to it. And he certainly does that extremely well. He executes their offense extremely well. He's very comfortable in how he manages the game for them. He gets them in, plays that have a great chance to be successful for them. And he's a good decision maker on, whether it's the RPOs, the bubbles, the smokes, the plays that they run that complement the running game. So, I think this guy presents lots of issues because he's a great player and he's a great athlete. And he's a great quarterback, all rolled in one.
We'll finish up with Aaron.
All right, so there you have it. If you want to watch Nick Saban's full press conference, go to Bama Insider or our YouTube channel. Has everything. Has Bryce Young, has Nick Saban's press conference from today on Monday. You'll hear from Nick Saban again on Wednesday. Tonight is Monday Night Quarterback with Mick Gillespie, Andrew Bone, and Tony Tsoukalas. We'll be coming to you a ton this week right here on BamaInsider.com. And then Tony's going to be in Atlanta. We'll be behind the scenes. We'll have tons of coverage between Alabama and Miami. Definitely hit the thumbs up, subscribe. We appreciate Chill Will on the super chats. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being back. And look at this, Chill Will again. Coming
Chill
through.
Will. Too generous.
Yeah, man, coming through hard as we end the show. So thank you so much, Chill Will. We appreciate you, man, more than you know. We'll be back, and it's good to be back on air with you guys. So thank you so much for the calls, Jeff Stapleton, Dave out in Southern Alabama, and to all our friends, Demetrius out in North Carolina. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. We appreciate you more than you know. Thanks for watching on BamaInsider.com. We hope you have a beautiful rest of your week, and our friends in Louisiana, Mississippi, we definitely have you in our thoughts and prayers as you continue to get through this storm. Catch you soon on BamaInsider.com.